Chicago, 2011. A cop is murdered. Police and prosecutors swear they have the trigger man. He swears he didn't do it. How far will each side go to prove they're right?
Like it's just one bombshell after another, where you're like, what?
The story of a PlayStation, a brain-eating amoeba, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Off Duty, out now. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Steven here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Steven will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fan Fellas wherever you get your podcasts.
When it comes to managing money, forget the hype and look at the results. Bill has $1 trillion of secure payments powering our bill pay tools. Instead of just moving money, Bill is powering the financial operations of nearly 500,000 customers. So stop the guesswork and start scaling with the proven choice. Ready to talk with an expert? Visit Bill.com/proven to get started. And grab a $250 gift card as a thank you. Terms and conditions apply. See offer page for details.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Psych Legal Pop Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk about popular culture through the lens of an attorney and a therapist. I'm the therapist, Tess Brigham.
And I'm Brooke Brigham. I'm the attorney.
And today we are continuing our coverage of And Just Like That, Season 2, Episode 9.
Episode 10.
Oh, Episode 10? No.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Episode 10. Sorry. Oh, you know what it is? Because there's one more episode next week. So that's why I have it in my head. So Episode 10, you're right. The Last Supper, Part 1. So this is the 2-part series finale of Season 2. Before we get started, just very quickly, we usually go through this at the end, but if you do not subscribe to our podcast and you enjoy our podcast, please hit the subscribe button so that you just don't even have to think about it. We just love subscribers and we love those downloads. All right. So let's get started. We usually do this character by character, though a lot of things were woven together. So Brooke, thoughts, high level, because I will tell you, I was crying by the end of the episode.
Oh, wow.
So you weren't crying at the end when Aiden was crying? I was crying.
No, I mean, I felt badly, but I didn't cry.
No.
But I've made this prediction that there was going to be something that happened with one of his children. Who's paying for this apartment? Carrie's new apartment, because in this episode, she talks about, the first night in our new apartment, and he's all excited. He's like, oh yeah, our apartment. And Carrie's having to move because he won't go into the old apartment. So she's buying a whole new apartment. Is she paying for this?
Maybe. I don't know, Brooke. These people have fuck you money. They have, I don't need to go into your new apartment. I don't have to go into your new apartment money.
But it's the point of it that, it's even if you have money, it's the point. It's like, whose apartment is it? Whose name is on the title? I mean, I don't know. Why is Carrie,
it's all a good
bending
point.
over backwards? She's really, really bending over backwards and buying a bigger apartment because she thinks that, she wants to have room for Aiden's children to come and visit. And they don't even like her. They don't want to visit.
Well, I don't know. What do you think? So you think now she shouldn't be doing any of this? You feel like she should be doing what?
I don't know, but it's a lot. Look at what happened the last time they went into this, apartment venture together. It was a disaster. And it just in general, it's a disaster to own property with someone who you are not married to, because your options and your right.
Well, I agree with you that, and I always say this, which is in any relationship, you should not move in with anyone, do anything too serious until you've been with someone for at least a year. And this timeline is all fakakta. I don't know where we are in any of this in terms of a timeline, because it seems like in some people's stories, it's barely moved along. And then in other people's stories, it's really moved along. But okay.
Aiden's only been here for what? 3-4 episodes?
Yeah, but in other people's storylines, it feels like it's moved along a lot.
Right. But Aiden, he's been around like maybe 3 months.
Yes. And so I am with you in the sense that I get that they needed to figure out something that was going to work for them. And most likely the best thing for her to have done was she has enough money that what she should do is sublet her place and find another place for the two of them. And she should just rent a place for a year and say, let's see if this works out for us. And let's see if your boys want to come up here and they can stay at our Airbnb or whatever it is. Yeah. And do this for a year. That would be the practical thing to do. But no, these two run into everything and that's what they're doing. So this is where they're at. But I was just saying that at the end of the episode, I really felt for Aiden and I felt for him in this situation. And yeah, this is what we were talking about, that eventually something was going to get in their way, that this was all just aligning too damn easily. And that something was gonna, happen.
Yeah.
And something happened.
Yeah. It's just running all too smoothly a little bit.
Yes. So, let's talk about the Carrie storyline. Because in some ways her stuff was not as big as everybody else's. It felt like everybody else had much bigger storylines, but, so the show opens up. We see Carrie and Aiden. They are at Coney Island and they're going to visit Steve. So because, some people might forget that Steve and Aiden are friends.
Yeah, they owned that bar together.
Yeah. And just Aiden is just, for being a kind of a country bumpkin, just a genius businessman, because not only is his furniture store taken off and he's sold it to West Elm, Scout, his bar venture, has also made him a ton of money. So now he's invested in Steve's new business, this Coney Island restaurant or whatever it is, where he's going to be serving hot dogs and clams.
Yeah, it's like a snack shack.
A snack shack
out on the boardwalk.
Yeah, I was just like, okay.
And also, just we haven't seen Steve that
in a while.
Since, several episodes ago.
I don't know why. Steve's accent. Steve wasn't like this in the original show. This accent, this person that they keep making Steve be is not at all what Steve was like just in the show at all.
Yeah, his accent is like 2.0, Steve 2.0.
Yeah. Weird. Yeah, do not like it. But anyway, and so while they're there, Wyatt calls. He's really unhappy. He's mad at Mom. Mom took away his phone. And the children in this, just these
like
kids
that,
are the worst.
They are the worst. This is like an advertisement for birth control. I mean, they're just horrible. All of them. Yeah. They're so rude. So rude to their parents and saying, oh, Mom's acting like a dick. It's like, excuse me. And Aiden just kind of laughs it off like, oh, now,
Mm-hmm.
I hate these children. I hate Wyatt. I don't know what his problem is.
Yeah. And that seemed kind of odd because she took my phone away and this whole thing, I don't know. And that he would then call and keep FaceTiming his dad while his dad's week off. I mean, it sounds like they've been divorced for a while now.
Yeah, like 5 years.
Yeah, I would think that if they had just gotten divorced and this was all relatively new, but you guys have been divorced a while. Like, you've been through this.
Well, and why is he so angry at his mom that, later in the show, he basically runs away from home and hitchhikes to the farm and, crashes the car and all that. Like, that's pretty severe.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty severe behavior for a 14-year-old or any age. Yeah. And it's like, what is wrong with this kid?
I was really worried that they were going to tell us that he tried to commit suicide.
Yeah, that was the first thing I thought.
That's the first thing I thought. I was like, oh, God, he ran into that tree and they're going to realize that he didn't skid, that he was trying to kill himself.
Well, that still could be the case because, this is all just happening fresh right now. It could come back that, the evidence shows that he rammed into the tree, and that's pretty like self-destructive behavior, just in and of itself. So, I mean, they still could find that out to be true.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I know. So that's what we learn later with Aiden. And then the next sort of big Carrie moment is that we learn when they're at this brunch, when they're all together, is that Carrie wins this raffle where she gets to have 16 people at her dinner with a Michelin star chef. And they decide that she's not going to have it at her new place that has so much room.
Right.
She's going to have it at her old apartment. So it's going to become the quote unquote Last Supper, which of course now makes sense for all of the marketing that they were doing for the show.
Yeah. And she's decided to sell her old apartment to Lizette because she wanted a single girl to have it.
Yes. For very little money. And Seema's pissed.
Seema's commission was, cut way down, and she hates this girl. She treats her like crap.
And then the other thing is that she has to break it to Miranda that she and Aiden are going to go see Che at their comedy show. So she just wants Miranda to know that. And let's see. I mean, really, that's, and then, we just see her again at the show. We can get into that when we talk about Miranda.
Well, yeah. So, Naya makes a comment to Miranda about how Naya gets an invitation to Andre Rashad's virtual baby shower or something. And, decides to buy him something off of the registry, and Miranda's like, what are you doing? Like that. And Naya says, well, I don't just cut all my exes off cold turkey or something like that. And Miranda's like, I don't do that. And she's like, yes, you do. So Miranda got to thinking, that she didn't want to be that kind of person.
Yeah.
And so she just showed up to Che's comedy show. Carrie and Aiden are surprised to see her.
Yeah.
And, I don't know what she thinks is going to happen, but
yeah,
she got quite a surprise.
Well, yeah, I mean, we can hold off on, it's so hard. This episode's really hard because everybody's storylines, kind of Miranda's storyline really weaves in with Carrie and what's going on. Do you want to talk about the Miranda stuff? We can talk a little bit about that.
Well, we can just talk about this comedy show since we're there.
The Che and the comedy show stuff. Yeah. So that's Miranda's big issue, is that she tends to cut off exes, which was a big issue in the original show, right? There was that whole thing.
She brings up Skippy too.
No, it's Skipper.
She brought up Skipper in this episode, and Carrie's like, wow, that's a throwback. And she's like, well, I still feel badly about it. And it's like, okay.
But in the original Sex and the City, that's how she and Steve started dating again in season 3, was in the end of season 2. That was the big thing. She sees Steve on the street and Carrie says, you throw people away and you're always doing that. And she's like, oh, I don't mean to. And that's how she and Steve start dating again. So, I think she's, this has been this issue with her, but so the other thing is Che is working on their set for their comedy show, which again, I know you don't want to hear me talk about this anymore, but this Che, and so now Che is doing, random comedy sets at these like open mic nights, going from, again, just so bizarre, this career of Che's. Going from now doing shitty clubs in Brooklyn where you have to drag people to go to it. And then, watching themselves like smoking weed and laughing at their old sets, watching themselves, their old stand-up jokes and, oh, I've got to prepare for my new set. And so what did you think of, I had to laugh because even Che watching themselves a long time ago, even their old jokes are stale. Like those old jokes. Do you know what I mean? Those old jokes that they did way back when they were quote unquote not even being themselves were old terrible jokes.
Yeah, and that was a theme of this episode, that Che is constantly running up against either her old self or like who she is now, and seems to be struggling with it, and that no one really understands her, and she's trying to be herself. Trying to be themselves, and so I don't know where that's going, but clearly this is not resolved. And Che always tries to be so confident, like, yeah, I'm really confident about my
myself,
non-binary, whatever. But I don't think they really are.
No, because it's what I think is interesting is they get really frustrated with this Dr. Fisher, and because Dr. Fisher struggles with the they, them pronouns, which I do
too.
Yeah, which we are here on
Everybody
this podcast
does.
struggling, and and we're not sitting here going, well, that's just how it is.
We're trying.
It's hard, and it's a struggle, and people are going to make mistakes, and all you can do, and that's what Dr. Fisher's doing too. And that's the part that is really challenging. And again, I think this comes back to why Che is a very difficult, polarizing character that makes no sense, because Che talks out both sides of their mouth all the time. Because I also thought that Che, come at me, people. I would love for someone to talk to me or educate me or in some way, shape, or form. Because I did think that the comedy set about Miranda and their experience with someone who's first, who had only been with men before,
It was awful.
It was pretty awful and pretty cruel.
Yeah.
And I understand that, you're a comedian. And so therefore your whole life is out there for people. But I kind of felt like, okay, so this show is, who is the show for? What is this club? What
it showed?
What is this? What is happening here?
It showed like such a lack of understanding. It's like you, as part of this community, is asking for understanding and respect, yet you did not give that to Miranda. And Che's the one who came on to Miranda, and and was supposedly in love with Miranda. And to show no sort of, if you're having sex with a woman for the first time, I think that would be kind of difficult and awkward. Geez, cuts her no slack, or
I think
it was cruel.
And I do think that there are people who do say, I don't date people who have never dated a woman before or a man. Do you know what I mean? I think there are people that say, listen, I'm not here to be your practice person. This isn't my role, or this isn't what I want to do, or this isn't what I want. And I also understand that, yes, this is material that Che's trying to work out and trying to figure it out. And yes, Che did say when they were out on the street, like, oh, I just haven't gotten to my part yet. I was going to start talking about me and the parts in which I screwed up. But at the same time, but why wouldn't the writers, again, I think this is why this Che situation is so hard. It's like, why can't you just give us this, you give
something
us
redeeming.
Yes. About who this human being is. Because when Che is a human and shows us the human side of themselves, this is great. When Che, becomes this sort of educator, and then this ultra comedian, do you know what I mean? Becomes the, hey now, hi, I'm a comedian. I'm doing a bit. That's when they become very annoying. When they either lecture or become the stand-up comedian. It's hard.
Yeah.
Just be a human.
Yeah, there's still a lot of work to be done on this character.
Oh God. But that comedy show, like, what comedy show is this? Like,
well, and the MC was berating people in the audience. And the guy was like, well, I'm trans. And, it was like, it was the most horrible comedy show I've ever seen.
Yeah. But it's like, well, So you don't want cis people to come to the show? Well,
cis people aren't allowed to come and try to understand, your point of view. Isn't that a good thing?
It's like, okay, so
anymore.
fine, roast. Like, if you want to roast people, it's just, yeah. So anyway, that's the Jay Miranda. And then the other part of the Miranda piece was that Miranda's boss is back. See, that was the thing with the timing of everything, because I guess Miranda's boss, Raina, she's on maternity leave. And so I was like, oh, that seemed to be a huge time jump. But I guess it's only been 5 weeks. I guess so. Okay. So I guess they needed to establish it's only been 5 weeks. So, okay. So Miranda went to the UN, and then I thought maybe something was going to happen with that woman. So maybe that woman's going to come back because the British woman, I think, is a well-known British actress. She seemed to be familiar to me in some way, shape, or form. So I think she's coming back around.
Yeah. And I'm sure this is my prediction. If this show ever comes back for another season, or maybe next week, that Raina will say, I don't want to go back to work. I want to be home with my baby. Miranda will ascend to her position, and then Miranda will have more contact with this woman from the UN. And there we go.
Oh, okay. There you go. That's pretty good. That's a good prediction.
We'll see.
Okay. So, so that's Miranda. Let's talk about, which kind of leads us, we were just talking about the Miranda Charlotte. Let's talk about, the Miranda Carrie brunch they were having. So who else was at brunch? Was Charlotte and LTW. Do you want to let's talk about the LTW storyline, because that's kind of contained.
Yeah.
Because we only see her in this, and then with Charlotte, and then later with Herbert.
Yeah. So, after brunch, was it Seema and Carrie, or no? Was it Carrie and Miranda go one way?
They go in one direction. Yeah.
Charlotte and LTW go their own way, and LTW ends up telling Charlotte that she's pregnant
because she's upset that Charlotte keeps telling everybody about this PBS documentary, and she's like, "You've got to stop telling people about this PBS documentary. They picked it up, but I don't know if it might not happen because it's so much work, and I may not be able to get all this work done." And then she tells her she's pregnant.
Yeah. But Charlotte says, "Oh, well, you can do it. If anyone can do it, you can do it." And of course, Charlotte's just ecstatic and so happy, and LTW is clearly, not happy.
Mm-hmm.
And so then after that, then the final scene we see her in is, she's in bed with Herbert, and she's saying, how did this happen? You should have gotten a vasectomy 8 years ago. And, they talk about that. And he said, well, I didn't know if you were serious because you were a little postpartum and kind of emotional. And so, basically it never happened.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also telling her, oh yeah, you can do it, whatever. And she's like, are you kidding me? And then you're going to be in this campaign, and you don't even help me with the kids we have now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then he does bring up, the choice issue.
And they don't say the word, they say the other option.
Yeah.
Which I saw a lot of stuff online. I watched this kind of late, so I was trying to avoid any spoilers, but I saw some commentary. I don't know if you read anything about this episode, but I saw some commentary that people were very mad about the way this was handled. I don't know if you read anything about it.
I didn't, but I can see that. I can see that it was kind of gently passed over, and then ultimately she didn't have to decide because she ends up having a miscarriage.
Yes.
And, it's a little soft-handed, but I didn't really want this show to get into that. I think the writers just wanted to make a political statement. Because LTW says, when Herbert brings that up, she says, no, I've thought about it, but I'm grateful that I have the choice, which is, a signal, a bat signal to basically say, yeah, I live in New York. I have the choice if I want to do that. There's a lot of women in other states who don't have that choice. I think they just purely wanted to make a political statement.
So you think that was the whole thing? That's what I kept thinking, because I was like, why? Because this is what we were talking about last time, which is, why is this woman pregnant? Like, what is the point of this? Nobody wants to see this. This makes no sense. And are they just doing this to throw I can see how you can throw a wrench in things. And I think that if this character was, this idea of, if this was Charlotte 20 years ago, like giving somebody everything that they wanted at once, like, the ultimate job and then getting pregnant, that's a great storyline for a woman who's 35, but it's, seeing this now, you're like, God, why are we doing this to her? And then I thought, oh, okay, they're going to have, I was like, oh, this is going to get really political. And then when they wouldn't even say the word, I was like, oh, maybe they're soft pedaling this. And then when she woke him up and said something's wrong, I'm like, oh, I see where this is going now. And so, yeah, maybe it is just all political.
Yeah, it felt really like, what's the word? It just felt kind of lazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly.
They wanted to make a stand or say something.
Could have been a lot more interesting. So whatever. Now that's
all right.
That's over.
And so the big Charlotte storyline is that Charlotte has the worst family in the world. She has the worst children.
Awful.
They're truly awful.
I hate her kids. And Harry, who used to be like the sweetest guy, he's turned into a curmudgeon, and he's just always angry, and I don't like any of them.
Yeah.
No wonder she, wants to work late. I mean,
except for Richard Burton, who's just such a loyal, cute little dog.
Yeah. He's the only one who doesn't fuss at her 24/7.
So she's at work. We see her with Sam Smith, another person who probably said, I'd like to be on this show. Can I be on the show? So she's showing some art to Sam Smith. And then, of course, Rock calls on the landline and it's emergency. And of course, she hears that and she thinks the whole world is dying. And the big emergency is Rock forgot their notebook. And they need their earth science notebook, and it's 4th period and they need it for 6th period, and feels like Charlotte needs to drop everything to get this notebook that they forgot. And Rock is now how old now? How old is Rock? 14 or something?
Let me tell you something. As when my daughter was in high school, I was always running something up to the school. Always. And that's the thing. She called and thought nothing of it because Charlotte's been doing that for years. And so kids will do that. If you if you deliver, they'll just keep doing it.
Yeah.
But, Charlotte just said no, drew a line in the sand and was like, no, you're going to have to call your dad. Or she calls Harry, and Harry's upset. And that was a great phone call when he was like, well, I'm too busy. I don't have time for that. And I forget the exact wording, but it basically came down to, kind of like, that's Charlotte's job because, she's the mother. And she said, oh, and so because you're the father, this isn't your job. And, she totally takes him down. And then he goes, okay, I'll do it. But yeah, Charlotte is really, I love Charlotte this episode. I've loved Charlotte this whole season. She's been probably the best.
Yeah.
I love her storylines. It's a lot of it is very realistic, except for how rude her kids are.
God, just awful.
They're
just
so
really
rude.
Awful. And yeah, I do. I mean, I'm with you on kids forgetting things and all of that. And yeah, that is the big thing is if your kids know that you are going to run things to them, they will be fine with forgetting things. And if they know you're not going to be able to run things to them, they will remember them. And that's kind of how it works. And it's that whole thing with, if your kid forgets their lunch, they will not starve that day, but they will never forget their lunch again. And that's just how it works. You know what I mean? That's just what happens.
I think it'd be hard pressed to find a parent of our generation who wouldn't take their kids lunch.
I know they would. They would.
We do everything for our kids. And that's the thing. When my daughter would forget stuff, it wasn't because she was unorganized, because she was extremely organized. And she paid attention to but shit happens. Like, you forget that you have to do this, and they're rushing in the morning trying to get ready, and it's very easy to forget something. So, but that's just how moms are now. They will run stuff to the school, but dad should do it too.
Yes.
It doesn't always have to be the mom.
So,
anyway.
So it's 6:30 one night, and Charlotte is running home to her family, but the other gallery girls are like, but you can't use every time someone sells a painting over 100,000, which I guess she sold to Sam Smith. They go out for a drink. And so Charlotte's like, well, what the hell? Let's go out. So Charlotte goes out. She gets drunk. She throws her phone because everyone's texting her constantly.
Yeah.
Throws it into a pitcher of margaritas, loses the phone. And so
doesn't care.
By the time she gets home, she's hammered. And this was great when she comes in. She's like, I was a person before all of you, which is, I think every mother has this moment and that feeling of like, I am a human. Hello, I'm a human being.
Right.
I am human. I'm a person. And, anybody who's ever had a child who's like used your clothes as a napkin, used you.
Yes. Or as a garbage can. You're a human garbage can. They hand you garbage.
Oh God.
Like, you're supposed to dispose of it.
Yes. You are, they hand you garbage. They treat you like garbage. They think you have no life. They think you have like no feelings. They think
no bodily autonomy.
Yeah. You have no beginning, middle, or an end, that you had no life before them, and you have no life when they're not around you, you have no life. Like, you go into a closet somewhere,
right? And just wait for them.
Just wait for them to
come back. Yeah, and her rude ass daughter Lily called her gross.
Yeah,
because she was drunk, and that's when she said, "I was a person before I had you," and blah blah. She just went off on all of them.
Yes, and so she ditched them all, and then slammed her door. And then Richard Burton went after her and cried, and she was like, and brought him in. And I was like, "Yes, you go, Charlotte." Fuck they all hate them.
They all need to shape up. Yeah, and she told them all to get it together.
Yes, good. I like this. I like this Charlotte storyline. I'm enjoying this.
Yes.
All right. We talked about the Naya stuff with, I don't know. I don't know if buying them $1,000 baby stroller is really shoving it in their faces, but I don't know. Seema, this whole Seema stuff. I mean, she's, she's this Ravi guy, she's freaked out because she told him she loves him and he loves her and la, 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 la. I don't know. We saw very little of her, but I just hate the storyline because I just don't think he's great.
And they're also clearly trying to make her like the Samantha character, but she comes nowhere even close. And I just say, I've been watching some clips, these TikToks show up in my feed, these clips from the old Sex and the City. And a lot of them are Samantha clips because she really is she's the best one on that show. And I'm watching these old clips.
She is great. I told you.
She's brilliant.
Yes.
And not just the character, but the actress, the way it's played.
Hello. That's what I said when we were doing our original thing, how of a genius she was.
And I didn't disagree.
Okay.
But now I have been reminded, visually, watching these clips, she is amazing. Mm-hmm. And the show does suck without her.
I'm telling you.
And she is not replaceable.
She's not. And
no.
And you can see now how much of the comedy she did, how much of the sex she did, how much of the nudity she did, how much of all of the great one-liners, all of the, when she went to go get that AIDS test and that woman asked her, how many partners you've had, and she's sitting there thinking, I'm counting, and she looks back at her
and goes, she's still counting.
Yeah, I'm counting. She's a genius. I mean,
and
the lines that she had and how well she delivered them. I mean, no one could do that.
She was also the voice of reason.
Yes.
She was really the voice of reason, because you have neurotic Carrie, neurotic Charlotte, neurotic Miranda, and she's just constantly telling them, guys, chill out. It'll be okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. Do this. Try that. She's the voice of reason. And the rest of them are just, lost.
Yeah. No, the whole thing with the, when, for example, when Miranda got pregnant with Brady and was freaking out and Charlotte ran off and it was this whole thing, she was the one that was like, okay, let her go. Like, you're going to be okay. What are you going to do, Miranda? Like, I've had two. It's going to be okay. Let's figure this out. Yeah. She was always like that. Always like that.
Yeah. Irreplaceable. Sorry.
Yeah, she is irreplaceable.
They really fucked that one up.
Oh, they did, because they just couldn't, they kept, they just couldn't, I don't know.
I think a lot of it has to do with money too. I think if they would have given her the money she wanted, she would have stayed. But see, that's the thing. She knew she was worth more than what they were paying her. She knew she was the heart of the show.
Well, yeah. I think it was money, and but I also think it was just the jokes and the fact that she was older, and it was this constant reminder that she was older than the other women. That it also always had to be that she was older than Carrie, older than Carrie, older than Carrie, older than Carrie.
Yeah.
And the old lady jokes and the menopause jokes and having to be naked. And I think that she also probably, right, she wanted to eat. She didn't want to be naked all the time. And I think that if they would just have let her be this more mature version of who Samantha is now, and still let her be Samantha, but let her be a classier version of what they've turned her into. Do you know what I mean? Like, not, let her, they just debased her so much in the movies. Do you know what I mean? They just made her in the movies. So that's the part that I think she just felt like, I don't, I want to be whatever. I just want to be a classier version of this character. And you just made her so awful. So I think it was that part. And I think Sarah Jessica is jealous. And I think that because I think that she was more of the person that people probably said, oh my God, you're the real star of the show.
Yeah.
So,
so
right. we have to talk about Anthony's stuff, because that also, there's Anthony's stuff. Then there's also the stuff with Stanford.
Yeah.
And then we have some gay sex issues that we have to discuss.
Yes. Well, it's a different generations, different views on
gay
sex. And so basically Anthony comes from the generation where you're either a top or you're a bottom, and you stay stay in your lane.
And if you're a top, you're sort of quote unquote the man in the relationship. And if you're a bottom, you're quote unquote the woman in the relationship. And that those roles have changed in relationships, and it's very different now.
Yeah, they're
fluid,
versatile.
Versatile.
Yeah, like where you could go either way, or they don't have to be these defined roles. It's just sex. You just do what you want to do, what feels good, what you feel like doing, and So Giuseppe wants to be on top.
Yes.
And that just freaks Anthony out. And
we all saw his package. So I'm with Anthony on this one. I can understand if this is your first time. Yeah,
that would be intimidating for a first timer.
Yes, it is. I would be very intimidated if I was Anthony. I could see that. But it's also, it sounds like it's a lot of different, it's a lot of different things, going on here. But it also sounds like there's that element of it. And there's also the element of the Stanford element, which is, he's holding on to a lot of feelings and a lot of anger and a lot of resentment and a lot of feelings about what happened with Stanford. And so Carrie gets this information letter from Stanford saying that when he was in Japan, I guess he and this TikTok star, they had a big fight. The star ran off to Berlin. And he wandered into is it a monastery? Not
monastery.
Is it a monastery? He's like, he's now
temple.
A temple. So now he's a Shinto monk. and he's going to stay in Japan. And he feels like he's at peace now for the first time ever in his life. And he is, going to give everything to Anthony. He doesn't want any possessions, and he's
let go of all attachments.
Let go of all attachments. And I guess he's giving a divorce to Anthony, and he's giving everything over to Anthony. And they have a little picture of Stanford, obviously photoshopped. And all that.
Yeah. This was such a weird thing, and I didn't really understand it until, of course, Michael Patrick King explained it.
Oh yeah, I have not listened to the podcast at all. So what does Mr. King say? What does he say about it?
Okay, so apparently when they debuted, like it was the world premiere or something of that awful Sex and the City 2 movie, was in Japan, and he was there, with Sarah Jessica,
of course,
for the premiere, and of course the critics panned it. Everybody hated it, and
did Michael Patrick King talk about that or no?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
He was explaining how this whole,
Oh, okay.
This is how this story about Stanford came about. And so he was real depressed. And I guess he and Sarah Jessica stayed behind. They were, staying there and traveling. I'm sure he was, licking his wounds, and she was consoling him. I'm sure she was upset too. She's a executive producer and all of that. And I guess they went around visiting all of these temples and learning about these monks and what they do, and he got really into it, and he found solace in it and comfort in it. And so it's something that's close to his heart, and so he took that and incorporated it into this Stanford story.
Got it. Okay.
Because otherwise it just seems very random. I thought at first I was like, what the heck?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I, in the beginning was like, I think at first I thought the story was kind of random. And then I was like, okay, I can see how they don't want to kill the character. They don't want to do that. So how do you make the character disappear and allow Anthony? Because I think the problem is they need to let this person move forward. So how do they let him move forward? And I thought this was like the second closest thing to making this person be at quote unquote at peace, right? Like how do you, when you think about someone passing away, they're at peace. So it's like, okay, now he's at peace.
He's at peace, but he's not.
Yes, but he's alive. So that's how I thought about it.
That makes sense.
So yeah, and so we see from. Did you see the scenes for next week or no?
I did. The only thing I remember is that Carrie gets a phone call from Samantha. You see Samantha's name come up on the caller ID. So we're gonna have the big.
No, well, I was just saying because I was just saying that the first thing you see is, so this goes back to this Anthony thing, is that Harry goes to Charlotte and he goes, Anthony's here to talk to you. He needs some advice. He's losing his ass virginity.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh my God. But we need to finish up the Carrie thing. So the last little bit of Carrie is they're back at that hotel together, and Aiden's big epiphany of all of this is he realizes that he realizes the big mistake that he made with Carrie was that he was so focused on locking everything down with her. Like, we got to get married. We got to move in together. We got to get married. We got to do all this stuff. And he says, look, I did all that with Kathy, and look at where we are now, Yeah.
And he said he forced her when he couldn't get her to commit to marriage. He kind of forced her into that lease of the apartment that, caused all that. Stress.
And he admits to her that one of the reason why he doesn't want to go back to that apartment is because he's going to be hurt. He's afraid that he'll get mad at her all over again. And then that ends abruptly. And then he gets this call from Kathy about Wyatt. And then we go into the whole thing. And then we see Carrie go to her new house the next day. And what I love about this is I'm just thinking to myself, this is quite the life that Carrie has. Poor Charlotte is working full time, and she has these two horrible kids, that are running after her. Miranda's working. Everyone's working. I mean, Che is working for minimum wage. And here's Carrie. She has nothing to do.
Not even what I mean? Sex column anymore.
She is not a sex column. She ran that podcast company to the ground.
Yeah.
She doesn't even have to do a book tour anymore. Like,
right. What happened to the book tour?
She has nothing. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just think to myself, she has no kids. Like if I was one of her friends, if I was Charlotte, and if I had to listen to if I had to listen to Carrie complain about anything, I would want to kill her because she really has nothing. Like her days are planning this Michelin star dinner and getting bedding for her apartment.
Well, yeah, Aiden is her new project.
This is it. Yeah. Anyway, so she hears from Aiden because Aiden gets the call from Kathy. He has to go back down. It turns out that Wyatt, you explained it earlier, hitchhiked back home, had some beers, drove the truck into a tree, broke his legs in 2 places and his collarbone. And that's really where it ends, where, Aiden is crying. I was crying because I just felt so bad for Aiden crying because he feels so guilty. He just feels guilty as a parent because it's such a crappy situation because obviously no one gets married with this intention of getting divorced. And so here he is, he feels, I'm sure, terribly guilty and horrible that he's divorced and that this marriage didn't work out. And here he is, he's fallen back in love with this woman. And here he is, he's trying to make this new life. And he's, trying to do all of this. And he feels terribly guilty that he wasn't there when his son, needed him. And there's nothing wrong with Aiden not being there because he has the right to live his life. But I just felt for him because I knew how, I knew that he was in a lot of pain and he felt a lot of guilt. And it doesn't make a lot of sense. But when you're a parent, nothing really, you just feel guilty all the time because you just do. I don't know. You just feel like you shouldn't have a life.
I of course, all of that is true. I just feel like there's more. There's a lot more to this story. Why does Wyatt hate his mother so much?
Yeah. And it's all Wyatt. We have not heard about the other 2 boys. Seem to be bebopping along and they're just fine. So just Wyatt has the issues.
No, we don't know. Yeah, we don't know yet. And, Wyatt has some issues and, we don't know. This is a very bizarre story. I think there's more to it.
Mm.
And I really want to know, like, why does he hate his mother so much? And, he seems to be, very attached to his father and, wants his father to be by him all the time. So I don't know.
All right. Well, we'll see.
I don't know. But, there's only one more episode. I don't know how they're going to wrap this all up. Who knows if it's going to get another season because the ratings haven't.
I think it will.
Great.
Yeah. I think it will.
I don't know.
But I don't know. I definitely think this last couple episodes definitely been on an upswing. I did like this episode overall. I enjoyed it.
Gotten at a certain point. I don't know if it was episode, 5 or 6 or something. They really got it together and got much better.
Yeah,
and I've been enjoying it.
Yeah, ever since the Jizz episode, where things got a lot better. So next week we will see Samantha. Yay! I mean, listen. Just the idea of Samantha and being able to see her is just so exciting. I mean, we all know in character, and we all know that they're not really talking to each other, but God damn it, Kim Cattrall, just give us a little something. I mean, come on, we're dying for it. So I bet you anything, we could probably crowdfund a salary or something for Kim Cattrall. I bet you people would pay to have her back. But they would never do that. Like, that's the ego, I bet you, of Michael Patrick King. even if we signed a petition to have her back, they wouldn't let her come back.
Yeah, I cut out there for a minute. So
sorry. Oh, it's okay. I wasn't saying anything interesting. Okay. So let's wrap it up.
On it. Yeah.
Yes. It was nothing. Okay. So let's wrap it up. So thank you so much for tuning in. So if you like this podcast and enjoy listening to us, please give us a 5-star review and write a few kind words. If you, have not subscribed already, please hit the subscribe button. So we have one more week of And Just Like That, and we are continuing our coverage of Sister Wives, the new season 18, just premiered. So we are covering season 18, and we are continuing with our Sister Wives coverage. So now, if you just subscribe, you won't have to think about any of this. It'll just automatically come in your feed.
Yeah, and I would note that you might hear this episode before you hear the first Sister Wives season 18 episode because they're not playing it early. We have to wait till 10 o'clock at night.
I know. And we're old.
So we can't really do a good podcast at 11 o'clock when the show is over. So we're going to have to record it Monday. So you may be hearing this before, but rest assured it will be out Monday, at some point Monday.
Yes.
Not quite sure what time, but yeah, it's kind of a bummer. What an awful time to have a TV program on, a fixed time. I mean, 10 p.m. on a Sunday. I mean, that's just so stupid.
I know, it's crazy. Hopefully, maybe, I don't know. We're working it out. We're trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
We're in the beginning stages, so it's the growing pains of trying to figure out how to get this. But we're going to try to get this new season of these episodes. Well, it is Sister Wife. The new show, Sister Wife. We are going to try to get these new shows out, these new episodes out as soon as we can. So, but just subscribe and they'll all just show up right there. And and follow us on social media, Psych Legal Pop on TikTok and Instagram. And I think that's it. Thanks so much for tuning in. We will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Steven here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Steven will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fan Fellows wherever you get your podcasts.
Over 90 of the top 100 U.S. accounting firms trust Bill to simplify and secure bill pay. That's proven financial infrastructure built on over $1 trillion of secure payments. Visit Bill.com/proven for a special offer.